interesting. A little bit of problem with the mic there, but yeah, there is an interesting dynamic there. But just that you want to add some context for what you were talking about. But that's something that I think people just largely know what they're going to get with Biden. They still support him anyway.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, because Biden's made a good amount. I mean, look at it on the debate. I will say his debate. I think the problem is he gets overwhelmed on debates. I mean, he does have a staring problem. I mean, look, getting debates are a little bit overwhelming. I think that he has to kind of keep his cool. I think he gets, to be honest with you, yeah, I think he's a little bit old for the job. I think Bernie is as well. But I think honestly, both of them I would say are pretty strong. Um, Physically, I don't really see either of them having any sort of physical problem, any sort of needing assistance walking or anything like that. It seems like they're pretty strong in that department, which is honestly really mostly that matters at that age. I would say is more of like can they actually like function by themselves, or they need a lot of like assistance to get around places. And overall, I mean, I do think that the race is going to be quite interesting as we come up now with these like weird people coming in. Bloomberg, who joined, who is just throwing money on the table, has no shot, obviously. But I was reading something that Bloomberg may actually run as an independent, like which is something that Howard Schultz was going to do from Starbucks a couple months ago. If Bernie actually gets the nomination, Bloomberg said he probably will just run as an independent, as he was telling many of his billionaire friends, and maybe many billionaires are actually pushing him to do that if Bernie runs and gets the nomination. Well, he's right running Bernie, but
Which
if he
would
gets the
interestingly, it
nomination,
would guarantee a Donald Trump presidency, which I
oh
think
yeah,
is the
he would. Yeah.
was the interesting thing about that, because there, like, that is a. I think it really comes to kind of an endorsement of a democratic socialist position or over a blatantly fascist position. I think a lot of those people that you thought you were kind of your friends and helping you resist Trump over this period are going to turn right to him when it comes to, I think, someone who's a real threat to the billionaire kind of class of things. And I interestingly think that Bernie has also been surging a little bit if you look at some of the polls, especially in some key states like California. He had a poll where he was leading on today. And I think he's in striking distance within the margin of error in Iowa and I believe Nevada, which I think he is also pretty well positioned to win in New Hampshire. I think South Carolina is going to be a little bit tough for him. So, as you know, Bernie is the candidate that I support. So I mean, I'm feeling pretty confident where for him at least at this time. So that's kind of my take. I think we've seen some good news, and Elizabeth Warren, especially after beginning to falter on Medicare for All and change her position, she has dropped in the polls, I think, noticeably. And that definitely has something to do with it. What do you make of Kamala Harris dropping out of the race this past week?
Well, I'm not shocked really at all. I mean, she had no chance either to get the nomination. I'm not really too shocked. I think that she kind of realized that she wasn't going to have a chance. I mean, people resigned from her to go over Bloomberg's campaign. She was having money problems. She was not really treating her workers fairly. And she really didn't really have a good campaign. I mean, her campaign basically was trying to cover up everything that was happening from her previous years as Attorney General in California, which, by the way, she had a very horrible history as Attorney General in California. And look, I get it. It was 2006, I believe, when she was elected, or maybe earlier than that, as the Attorney General in California. I understand that, and I understand, obviously, that was 12 years ago. 13 actually, excuse me, 13 years ago, but I think that we have to take that seriously because if we're going to be targeting every single person, we're targeting Biden, we're targeting Bernie, we're targeting Warren, their past, and also Buttigieg, their past, we have to target the same to someone like Kamala Harris, who has a very kind of shady and kind of bumpy road past. Now, I think that Kamala Harris had no shot after what happened with Tulsi at the debate. I think that was really the bomb thrown to
Huh.
the campaign. Tulsi really, really rippled that campaign apart. She tore it apart and threw that right in the trash can the second they got off that debate stage because Tulsi really ripped into her in amazing ways. And I give credit to Tulsi for that. And I'm cross my fingers that she does that to Buttigieg because this guy Buttigieg, he's got to stop with this. I mean, he's like, if he actually gets a nomination, which look, he is rising in the polls, and he is raising quite a lot of money, but a lot of the money is from corporations, by the way. But that's the problem. If he actually Oh yeah, no, you do. Yeah, you do need that.
Yeah, you really need support from white boomers. You can't give the nomination if you're Pete Buttigieg. You can't be the Democratic nominee, I think, and expect to win against Donald Trump without the support of black people. Because he literally pulling at some points and still incredibly low. He's like pulling at 6 or 5% in South Carolina. Like he's just in like that's I think the person with the biggest electability issues in the top four. Not Bernie or Warren, not Biden. I think it's Pete Buttigieg because how is he? You can't convince me that you're going to win with no black support whatsoever.
Oh yeah, and also the fact of the matter is he's not even raising that much money from people anyway. So it's like, how can you actually defend that case and say, oh, by the way, I have a lot of people supporting me? Yeah, you got a lot of the corporations supporting you, which is exactly what happened to Trump. And also, but Trump has a lot
And
more
Clinton,
people
really.
supporting him than Buttigieg.
Yeah, I think he's definitely more comparable to Clinton on that front because he's really
Oh
picked
yeah,
his lane. And some of the stuff that people say, oh, he's an outsider, and he likes to say that too. He's like, I'm an outsider. I don't care about Washington experience. But the reality is, if you look at his resume, everything he's ever done has pointed to him being president. From trying to be a Rhodes Scholar to trying to work at McKinsey to Harvard and um, in the military as well, where he, according to most accounts, like he was not out there on the front lines actually doing anything of great importance. But it's that kind of thing that I think people have really learned to see past at this point, especially in this post-Trump era of politics. And I think it's going to be very damaging, especially like with that non-disclosure agreement business. Like that stuff is just not good. It's just not good, and it kind of paints an image of him as being someone who is like part of that deep state elite that Trump's going to be very easily able to rail about.
oh yeah. I mean, honestly, when I think about it, Buttigieg literally is the younger version of Hillary Clinton because Hillary Clinton literally said that she may actually run into the race if she doesn't feel like a candidate who she likes can actually gain. She doesn't actually like Biden, funny enough, because Hillary doesn't even believe in a public option, which is funny. She doesn't believe in a public option, does not believe in any of the environmental policies that Biden has taken up. She actually believes more in the plan that Buttigieg had in place before he did this whole Medicare for all who want it, which is basically sort of similar to what Hillary wanted, which is basically just let's empower our private insurance by giving them rebates and by giving them tax breaks and finding other opposite ways to do it. Now, I'm not saying Biden is any sort of progressive or anything like that. I'm just saying that Biden is not like a moderate Clinton tonight, like, as many people think he is. Biden is a moderate, obviously, but Clinton doesn't even like a lot of the policies that he's taken up so far in this 2020 race. But I think when I think about it clearly, Hillary had a good amount of black support, but a lot of the black support really was actually going over to Bernie towards the end of the race. Look at South Carolina last year, 60 to 40%, pretty close for them. And honestly, any of the other states that had a lot of black Democrats voting, Hillary really kind of got diluted because of Bernie. And I think the fact of the matter is that Bernie and Biden both have quite a lot of the black support right now. And Buttigieg has literally none, and he also literally has very little to none of the Hispanic support, which is going to be critical for him to actually win an election. He was first in Iowa a couple of weeks ago. He's not first anymore, but Iowa is basically all white voters. I mean, really the only state that
Yeah,
we can maybe
yeah.
see how his
And
performance
New Hampshire the
does.
same. New Hampshire the same.
Yeah, New Hampshire the same, but I think also like if he actually is serious that he'll have a lot of black support, then we got to see how he does in South Carolina because more than half of the Democrats who vote in the primary, who cast votes in the primary as Democrats, are African Americans. So we really have to see where and how he does in South Carolina when
I do
that
think it's
primary
I
comes up.
I do think it's likely to be a 1-2 Biden Bernie in South Carolina because Biden does have a much I think probably a lot more of the older black support, which is more likely as you always say to come out and turn out and vote. But Bernie is the strongest candidate with actually Hispanic Americans, so I think that puts him in a much better position in Nevada, which is going to be a big help for him coming forward. So again, I think the new kind of villain of the left, and I think of just the 2020 campaign in general, is going to be Pete Buttigieg. It's going to be interesting to see. I believe there's a new debate this week. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, I believe it's Wednesday or Thursday or one of those
Huh.
days, I believe.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So that's gonna be an interesting debate to watch. We will have whenever that debate is. I'm just saying that we're gonna have a special episode for that. I do want to break that down because it's gonna be very interesting to see if Pete Buttigieg gets fired on, which I dare say he will. And I think some of the first shots have already been fired. If you look at some of the Twitter exchanges between Warren and Pete, and see if Bernie gets involved in there too. Biden maybe as well. There's a lot of different interesting places that this could go. All right. That's all the time we have today. Thank you so much for James Stanley. James, I'm sure you're going to get that JSPN back up and running soon. Am I correct in saying that? Or
Yeah, it's gonna be starting up pretty soon.
all right, that's good to hear. All right, that's all the time we got for today. New episode of Red Alert coming. And we give away the topic here. It's going to be about the courts. So that will be very, very exciting. Tune in tomorrow night at 11 for that. And, of course, we'll have your midweek debate episode. And, of course, Uncultured coming back should be this Friday. And, of course, you can go check the one we did this Saturday with Zach, which was a ton of fun to do. All right, that's pretty much all the plugs we got for you now. We will see you soon. This has been Newsflash.